Hey everyone, I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. I was working on a couple of birthday cards for a birthday party this weekend, and I used a pop-up fun fold that I thought, you know what, I haven't shared this with my friends out there, so let's go ahead and make a video of it. So today that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take a moment to turn on the camera and we'll get started on this card. Thanks for joining me today. Here's what we're going to use today to make this card. I love the new Sweet Jar bundle. There's also a Christmas set coming out which is called Jar of Joy, and it uses the same exact punch. So this is a fun little punch that punches out this jar and the lid. And then the Sweet Jar stamp set has birthday, St. Patrick's Day, get well, this could be pills, this could be candies. There's hearts. So this is kind of an all year round type of stamp set. So I really love that. And then of course the punch makes it super easy to craft with. So we're using that. We'll be embellishing with some of the 2025-2027 in color dots. We'll use those a little bit later. Our colors, we'll be using Basic White, Timid Tiger, Mossy Meadow. And I picked those colors because I just bumped my camera. I apologize for that. I picked those colors because we're going to use this beautiful paper which has those colors in it, along with some Berry Burst is in here as well. So this is really pretty paper. This paper comes from the Floral Charms 12 by 12 paper pack, which is part of a suite of products which I believe is called Charming something or other. I will have it on my blog in the description of these cards. So as always, you can click on the link below and go to my blog and get all of my cutting instructions, and so that those products will be on there. So let's go ahead and get started now that we know what we're using for this card. So we're going to start out with our base, and I'm going to do the base in, what did I say, Mossy Meadow. Had to think about that. I've made so many cards today working on getting upcoming birthday cards done that I have lost my mind a little. Alright, so I'm going to grab my Mossy Meadow and I'm going to cut 4 1/4 by 11. Alright, and then while I'm in there, I'm also going to cut a 1-inch piece because I'm going to need that for the pop out. So I go ahead and just cut it at the same time. So I'm going to set the scrap aside and we'll set our 1-inch piece aside. So with that 4 1/4 by 11 piece, we're going to do a little bit of scoring. We're going to score at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. All right, so we're going to set that aside a moment. I am going to open my vent. Whew. Sometimes I close the air vents in here because it gets cold, and I got hot, so I had to open them back up. All right, now we're going to take that 1-inch piece. First, we're going to make it 7 1/2 inches long, so I'm going to cut it. And we're going to do a little scoring on that. We're going to score it at 1 inch, 3 inches, and 4 1/2 inches. All right, and we will set this aside. All right, so then the next thing we want to do is create some panels on our card. So I'm going to, now you could just put, you don't have to put layers. I'm going to add layers. So if you're not adding layers, you're just going to be cutting 4 or 5, depending on if you need one for the back, pieces that are 2 1/2 by 4. Now I like to add backgrounds sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to it just to give it that extra little dimension. So I'm grabbing that Timid Tiger and I'm going to cut 4 pieces that are 2 5/8. I'm going to to cut this whole piece at 2 5/8, and actually should have done it the other way. That's okay. 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. So I'm just making it just slightly bigger than what my designer series paper will be. So I'm going to just cut these. And I'm going to need 4, so let's just do one more strip of them. 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. All right. And then I don't think I'm going to put one on the back, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now I'm going to grab my designer series paper, and I'm going to use this pretty pattern. I'm going to do 2 that are in this pretty pattern and 2 that are in this green, okay? So I'm going to start with these 2, and that's going to be 2 1/2 by 4, and I only need 2, so I'm just going to do it in this direction. Now, this is directional paper. If you're using directional paper, make sure that you pay attention to which way you want that to go. All right, so there's my 2 pieces of that. And I have one more piece for the back, so now I just have to cut one more. So let's see, I'm trying to use my scraps to the best of my ability here. I'm going to cut this like this, so I don't have a wonky piece of paper. And 2 1/2. Okay. All right. So we have 2 that are 2 1/2 by 4 of this pattern, 2 that are 2 1/2 by 4 of this pattern, and then we have 4 pieces that are 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. So they're just slightly larger, and they're just going to layer on there just like that. Okay. So we're going to set that aside. And then the last thing, because I'm using a dark base, I want a piece of basic white so I can put a message on the back. So this is a scrap. Let me see if this is going to work. I think it will. 2 1/2. I love when I just grab a random scrap of paper and it works. Always a good day. All right, so I only need 1 of these for the back. You can add 2 if you want to do more writing. 1 works for me. All right. And then before you came on here to watch, I went ahead and die cut 3 pieces of paper, a piece of Timid Tiger, a piece of basic white, and then a piece of that designer series paper. And I used the Everyday Arches dies. These are the ones in the middle of the stack, so they're not the largest or the smallest. They're the 3 right in the middle. So use whatever size you want. You just don't want it taller than 4 1/4. So I cut those, and we are ready to put our card together. All right, so let's start with our base. So again, this was 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. So we're going to start out by folding it in half for a valley fold. Where is my bone folder? There's one. So we're going to go ahead and give that a good crease. And then the other 2 ends are going to be valley folds. So I'm going to fold this one back, and I'm going to fold the other one back. So basically you have a W. So you have a valley fold in the middle and 2 mountain folds. All right. So that is that. So once we have that done, let's go ahead and adhere these layers together. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and what we're going to do is just go ahead and glue on our designer series paper. Look at this goober. It's been sitting too long. So 2 of these are going to be the green side. So I'm going to put glue on the flower side for those. This is a great fold because you can use so many different papers. You can emboss. You don't even have to use designer series paper. You could add an embossed layer. You can add white panels on the front and right. There's a lot of versatility to this card, which is one of the things I really liked about it. And when we start on the front element, as you'll see, you can use so many different dies. You don't even have to use dies. One of the samples I use laser cut images. So there's just a lot of flexibility with this, and it's a fun card. I have hair everywhere. I'm shedding today. Something awful. All right. So now these two will be the flower design. I love this paper. It's pretty. It's cheerful. I made some very girly cards earlier, and I feel like these colors are just a little less typical girly. They're not pinks. They're oranges and greens, which are fun. This is also a great fall color combo too, which I like because we are into the fall season. So there we go. Those panels are done. So what you want to do ahead of time is kind of figure out how you want your panels. I think I'm going to put mine this way. They would totally work this way as well, but I think for this one I'm going to do it this way because I think this will look really neat right here. I mean, it actually looks really good both ways. You know what? I think I might do it this way. We'll do it this way. So I kind of like to decide where I want my panels because we're going to be adding the two middle panels first. So I'm going to pull those out and I'm going to grab that base again, and I'm going to go ahead and add these two panels to the middle. So you want to make sure you start with the middle first, and you'll see why in just a moment. So I'm just using my glue press and centering these on the panels. They're really easy because there's just a small margin of space. And we're going to go ahead and add the other one. Just like so. And I'm kind of visually making sure everything's even. All right, so now that we have these two pieces, we want to go ahead and grab that 1 by 7.5 piece. I had to check my camera. I had this sinking feeling I forgot to turn it on. That's happened to me before. All right, so we have our 1-inch score line. That is a valley fold, and then we have 2 mountain folds. So our other 2 score lines, which was at 3 and 4, and no, what was it? 3 and 4.5. So it's 1 inch is a valley fold, 3 inches is a mountain fold, 4.5 is a mountain fold. And then you're left with this long piece, and you might be saying, well, that doesn't make sense. Just give it a moment and it'll make sense for you. So I've got those kind of folded. So I'm going to start out on this side here, and we're going to place glue on the back. So I'm just putting a little liquid glue here. And now the fun thing about this is this piece is exactly 4 1/4. So I need to put my piece flush with the bottom of my card. But if you have an element that you're putting on the front of this that's smaller, you can put this anywhere you want. You could have it up here and have things hang down. You could have it in the middle. You could have it just a little bit up. And you'll see from my other samples, I don't have all of them all the way down. All right, so that is glued on. So the next step is you want to go ahead and close the back, because the way the card closes is actually like this. These 2 panels get folded to the back. So the reason we don't score this end is because you don't really know where it's going to fall when you have your card folded. So we've got that first end in, and then I'm going to go ahead and place it, line it up, and then I'm just going to fold it over. Okay, so now we know it's going to be flat. So that's why you don't score that last end, because you're going to be adjusting it. Now I tested it and scored this 1 inch from the end, and it didn't work out because when you flip these the other way, there's a little bend. So just do it that way. Score at 1 inch, score at 3 inches, score at 4.5. Don't score this one. You're just going to bend it manually. All right. So once you have that manually bent, then you're going to go ahead and glue that one down. So I'm going to add a little liquid glue, just like that. And then I'm going to line everything up and then just flip it back over and hold it. Okay, give it a good press. And so now there is our mechanism on our card, and it's going to fold completely flat. So that's why you have to do it in that order. All right, so now we can go ahead and add these other panels. So I'm just going to add my liquid glue. And we're going to, and I'm making sure my tops are all the same level, just like so. And then we're going to do the other one the same exact way. And when you make this 1 by 7.5 strip the same color as your base, it all kind of blends in nicely, so you don't really notice the bottom. And of course, if you make a card where you move this bottom piece up a little, you won't see it at all. So there we go. So this is how our card will display. All right, so that's done. So now we have these 3 pieces. So we're going to go ahead, just to get it out of the way, and glue these 3 pieces together. Because I'm not doing anything else to these, I'm going to be attaching elements to the front. So I'm going to just glue those on, just like that. And then this last one, same thing. Add our liquid glue and pop that on. And I'm just making sure I'm straight and centered. All right, there we go. So that looks good. So now this is going to go right here on the front of the card. And I'm only going to put glue right here on this part that sticks out, okay? This is the only part you want glue. And if you're using something that's smaller than this, if you're putting a smaller element, glue the element and then attach it. Don't put glue on here because you don't want glue on the outside of your perimeter. So I am just eyeballing center as well as I can, and making sure everything's flush with the bottom so that my card is completely, so when I put it in the envelope, everything fits. All right, so there is the front. So now we want to decorate. Super easy. So before you came on, I went ahead and stamped 2 of these little jars, and then I added my candles. So there's 2 candle stamps. There's a single candle, and then there's a double candle that has 2 candles, but there's a slight space. So what I like to do is I stamp the double candle, and then I stamp the single candle in the middle. So the double candle and the single candle, they just line up really well. And then I added the rest of my flames and my little sparkles and all that. And then I did take a smoky slate Stampin' Blends and kind of added a little shadowing to the bottom, and then took my color lifter and kind of deleted some of it out. So it's not just floating in the jar. It kind of looks like it has a shadow on the bottom. So the colors I used for my candles, I used Basic Gray to stamp my jar. And then I used Mossy Meadow, Petal Pink, Blackberry Bliss, Timid Tiger. And those are for my candles because I wanted to pull in those colors that are in the flowers. And then my flames are Daffodil Delight. So that is what I used for that. So now that we have those all, we can go ahead and punch them out. So I'm going to start out with this side, and I'm not worried about the jar lid. We're going to do the jar lid with some cardstock. So I am just cutting out the jar itself. So I'm just kind of making sure the space is pretty much even all the way around. So there's one jar, and look, there's a little lid, but we're not going to use it. I'm going to use a different color for the lid. It's also really cool to punch the lid out with metallic paper and make it look metal. I think that looks really good. You can also use this to make a shaker card. So this is a really versatile punch. So there's those 2 pieces, and I have a little scrap over here of the Timid Tiger. So I think I'm going to make my lids with the Timid Tiger. And if you want to test it out, you can just kind of put one there, and that looks pretty cute. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm just going to turn it and cut one more. I need 2 lids. All right. There is a stamp for the lid that you can stamp and punch out, but this works as well. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab my silicone craft sheet, And I'm going to go ahead and put a small stream of glue right here, because one of these is going to be popped down with dimensionals. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue my lid on there and make sure it's straight, just like so. So there's my first lid. And then I'll just go ahead and do the same thing for my other lid, just to make life easy. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this lid on as well. Okay. So now that those two are on, I just want to decide which one do I like the most. That'll be the one that shows right front and center. Okay. So I think this one is going to just go this way, and this one's going to go this way. So if I'm going to put this one on first, I'm just going to glue it straight down. Just like so. And I'm going to pop that on there, just like that. And then this one is going to go on with some dimensionals to give it a little bit of elevation. So I'm going to grab my dimensionals, and I'm not going to put one on the lid because I think I might tie a little string there. Just thought of that, so why not? All right, that looks good. And we're going to take these papers off, which is what I love using my Take Your Pick tool for, so I don't have those floating all over the office. So we're going to stagger this one this way, just like that. Look how cute that is. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this and see if I can tie a little bow around it. I think that'll work. It's just some twine. I think this might actually be the linen thread. I have both, so I'm not sure which one I picked up. So just making sure I have a long enough piece. All right. I am going to add a little glue dot to the back of my jar lid, and that's going to hold that little string in place. You could also use ribbon for this, but I think because the jar lid's thin, this works really nice. And you could do it on both of the jars too if you wanted to. All right, that looks good. So we've got our little string. And then if you're worried about it moving, you can add a balled up glue dot behind it, or I'm just going to add a tiny little drop of liquid glue and just pop that on there. I think that'll hold it just fine. All right, so that looks good. So now we want to add a greeting to the front. So let me we'll grab our happy birthday stamp. And then I'm also going to grab the stamp that says, can't read backwards. It says sending a little your way. And then there's lots of little words. So I'm going to grab party because there's candles on there. But it has love, luck, and party. So you can kind of personalize this however you want, which is a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and stamp this. So I'm going to grab so this is for our back. So I'm going to grab a scrap of paper. And I've got my ridiculous amount of scraps right here. Actually, let's grab a thinner one. One of these days, I'm determined to use up all those scraps in that basket. All right, let's grab our mossy meadow. That seems like a good color to use. So I'm going to just ink up happy birthday, and I'm going to pop that on there just like so. Wow, I did that nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I left enough room. Just going to cut it at an angle just like that. And I'm going to grab a scrap. Is this long enough? It is. So I am going to glue this down. Let's get this out of the way before there's a catastrophe. So I'm just going to add some glue. This is just a really quick and easy way to make a tag. And I'm just going to layer this just like so. Make sure it's straight. And then I'm just going to use my scissors and follow along. I mean, you could do this with your paper cutter if you're worried about it being perfect, but this is just super easy. Just like so. Look at that. Just took minutes. And we'll go ahead and pop this on with some dimensionals. Those are minis. Where's my regular? They're there. Things walk around on my desk, I swear. I don't lose them. They just move on me. All right, we're going to put those 3 on there. Take those papers off. And pop this. Where do we want to put this? So you could put this on the front. You could put this back here. I'm going to just put it, I think we'll just put it, where do we want to put it? I guess we'll put it right here, and I ended up not needing to add anything to the bottom. No shadowing needed for my candles, but that's okay. All right, that looks really, really cute. So now the only thing we have left is to stamp this little piece that's going to go in the back. So I grabbed that stamp that says, what does it say? I can't read backwards. Sending a little your way. So we'll go ahead and grab that Mossy Meadow again. Ink that up really good. And we're going to stamp that right there. Is that straight? Yes, it is. All right, and then we'll grab our Timid Tiger and our word party. I took that out. There it is. I told you, things move around on me. All right, and we're going to add party right there. Sending a little party your way. So we've continued to pull all of our colors together. Now you could add some more candles down here if you wanted to. Actually, that would be really cute, wouldn't it? Let's do it. Then I can show you the candle stamps. So here's our 2 candles. Actually, it's 3 candles. So let's stamp our set of 3 candles in. Look, there's our other candle. In our Blackberry Bliss. So we're just going to put it right there. And then we have our single candle. And what color should we do? Let's go ahead and do our Timid Tiger, because that'll pop nicely. So the single candle, I just stick it right in that gap, just like so. So that's how those candles work. Super easy. Let's go ahead and put these away before I lose them. And then there's also a little teeny tiny flame, and there's teeny tiny flame and teeny tiny little sparkles that go around the flame. And I don't worry about getting everything perfect. It just looks whimsical when it's a little off, so I don't mind. But I'm going to use my Daffodil Delight, and this will do the 3 flames, just like that. And then if you want to do that middle flame, you can actually just stamp that single flame that kind of stands out but alone, just like that. So it's easy to use that. I don't know why they didn't give us a single flame, probably because we would all lose it because it would be so tiny. And then these are the little sparkles that go around the flames. So you can just add a few of those, just like that. All right, so now our sentiment, our greeting, or sentiment, I guess it would be the sentiment, is done. So you could, as I said, layer another color of cardstock on the back, but I just think it looks just fine like this. So we're just gonna add some liquid glue to the back. Like I said, this is a super easy card. It's actually going to look like you spent quite a while making it because it's got that fancy little opening, but it's really simple. So there you go. And that gives you plenty of room to write. If you wanted to add another panel here, you totally could, if you wanted to write more. So now all we have left to do is some embellishing. So I grabbed these 2025, 2027 in color flat pearls, and these have the Timid Tiger in them. So I thought that would be fun to put some Timid Tiger on here. So we're going to go ahead and put one here, and we'll put one over here, and we'll use the little one over here just to give it a little bit of shimmer. All right. So when your card opens, it sits there just like this. And when you close it to put it in the card, it fits in the envelope perfectly this way. And it looks pretty on the back too. And you can decorate these panels. You can put words here, you can put flowers, you can do whatever you want. There's a lot of options for this card. But I feel like this is just perfect the way it is. So there is our first sample. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that there. Let me show you the other ones that I made. So this was my inspiration sample, and I used a different set of paper, and I used a shiny bow, but it's basically the same. I kept the back simple, but look how pretty. So there's a sample. This uses the Just a Note set and some of that beautiful floral designer series paper. And I love the Just a Note set. I made this I cut out the little binder clip, or the little clipboard clip. I made my own little clipboard by using a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and then I used a corner punch and rounded all my corners, and then added my little piece of paper to it, which is one of the dies. It's so cute. And then I added a little dimensional to the back of this clip so that it pops out like it would in real life. I just added a few little elements to the front. So it's super sweet little card. And then the back, because this card closes like this, things can hang off your back panel. So I added this little clip here, and it says, "You've got this." So when it's closed, it's not going to bend. Even though it hangs off, it's not going to get bent. So there's my third sample. You get a lot of samples today. And then the reason I was crafting today was to make a birthday card. So this is for a 7-year-old's birthday. The sweet girl's turning 7, and so is her sister. They are twins, so I made them each a card and added the number 7 to the front. This is the party die, alphabet dies that go along with the party banner dies. Super cool, and I cut these out with some retired glimmer adhesive paper, as well as the 7 that comes from the birthday celebration set. But love this paper, and then on the back it says Make a Wish. So I think she's gonna love it, and it looks so pretty. It's gonna look so pretty when she opens it, and I made one just like it for her sister, just a little different. So there you go. There are 4 samples of the Pop Out Fun Fold, and super easy to make. I think you're gonna love making these. It could be a total go-to card. This would also be a great fold for Christmas cards, any kind of holiday card, because it's got a lot of a wow factor. So let me know which one's your favorite, and let me know if you try this out soon. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and click the link below to go to my blog. I'll have all of the cutting and scoring measurements on there for you, as well as a list of the products that I use for each of these samples. I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you've subscribed to my channels and hit that bell so that you can get reminders when my videos post. I love hearing from you. Let me know what you think of these cards, and I will see you next Wednesday with another fun fold. Have a great day, have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you later. Bye!